Hello, Space Junkies, and welcome to episode 169 of What a Piece of Junk, the Star Wars podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Scott Botman, and joining me, as always, is my original podcast co-pilot, Mr. Derek Marsh. Derek, it's been a minute. How's it going over there in Bluegrass Country?
Yeah, it is just as we mentioned earlier offline that it is hot. But we have been hitting some crazy storms. It's just been kind of off and on. It'll be beautiful, and then all of a sudden dark clouds will form and you'll get, Sith lightning everywhere and gusts of wind and all that.
Yes.
And then it'll go away and it'll dry up and it'll be hot and humid again. So
all I need is to have floating glowy eyes and Tom Baker to intone, "I am the Bindu and I bring death." And, then I'll be satisfied, even if I get killed, whatever.
There you go.
But who wouldn't be satisfied is someone who has plenty of things to say about Star Wars animation, like that Rebels reference I just made. It's our very own Dave Filconi, the man of 1,000 nicknames, Mr. Miracle, Gooey Chewy, Nathan Miracle. Nathan, welcome back to the Drunken Gungan.
And you know that I will never be satisfied, which is Hamilton, not Star Wars. Close enough.
Yeah. Mark Hamilton? Does that count?
We're going to count it because I have to connect it to Star Wars somehow.
True. Although I know that we are the Star Wars podcast here on FPN, but man, has it not been the summer of Superman, you guys. I've gone to see the new Superman movie with David Cornsweet as the new Superman, and man, it was great. I loved every minute of it. # invest in crypto. Have you guys seen it? And we'll take 4 minutes to tell the audience what we think. Nathan, I know you've seen it because you were with me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you ask if I've seen it as though you were not
Yeah, but the listeners don't know that I was.
He might have physically been there, but maybe spiritually he was already ascended into.
To be fair, there's 10 minutes that I didn't see because I did want to see it with you at the new-ish movie theater in
newly renovated.
Newly renovated, yeah. Under new management.
Definitely
theater.
under new management.
So it's a theater that I have been to, but it's been, decade. Yeah, Iron Man 2, I think I saw there.
Which I think was the last time 2009, 2010.
So anyway. A long time ago in a galaxy, well, pretty close by. But yeah, I wanted to see it with you there. Unfortunately, that is quite a distance from my work. And since I was going on a weeknight, that meant I was also fighting rush hour traffic and missed the beginning by about 10 minutes. But kind of picked up what happened in the first 10 minutes from context clues and whatnot. And aside from missing those few minutes, I loved the movie. I thought it was great. I love seeing a Superman that I could look up to, who's not, murdering his enemies, who is actively going out of his way to save innocent lives. I don't know that I want to get too spoilery for those of you who have not seen it, but he definitely goes out of his way to save innocent lives that other people are not thinking about.
Yes, including the audience, who sometimes go, "Wait, what?"
And innocent lives that others don't necessarily see as innocent. So, yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Right, yeah. Derek, have you seen the film?
No, honestly, I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest Superman fan to begin with.
That's fair.
Well, that's Scott. I'm not the biggest Superman fan either.
So, obviously, I am more of a Batman fan. But just right now, honestly, it just wasn't something that really interested me the way any of the Superman. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a Superman, and I mean, well, again, not that we had a whole bunch of them in between, anyways. But Man of Steel was what 2011 or 12.
I think that's right. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, that's been quite a while. So,
and then obviously prior to that, it would have been none because they were all out before. I mean, the last couple of Supermans, I think that might have been I was a couple of years old for Superman 4 and 5, but but yeah, it's never been something. Again, I like what Superman stands for, but again, to me, it's just the heaviest of plot armors because he's just literally invincible. Not that but it just feels like there's never really been opportunity. I mean, yeah, there's obviously Doomsday and all that stuff, and I enjoyed those comics. with that creation, but you literally had to create basically something else that couldn't be destroyed to fight
Yeah.
Superman. And
Interesting that you bring up you need to create something to fight Superman, because you should go see the movie is all I'm going to say.
Yes, you should.
So-
But
and
I've
also-
always felt that the best Superman stories are the ones where he's not in physical danger.
Yeah.
Where the crux of the plot is something that he can't just punch his way out of.
Yeah. Which is good, but see, the problem is, to me also, it's hard for me to relate to Superman because he's not technically human, right? So
Right.
like, to me, I like Superman the best, not when he's quite the level of Homelander, but I did like the point of the beginning of Injustice in that series of why he goes down there, because he actually does, for once in his life, actually go down the human road and knows what it's like. Now, then again, it goes crazy, like I said, and then he goes full Homelander. But I like that one at that point. Then I was like, oh, okay, I can relate to Superman. Like, he can make a mistake. And I'm not to say that they had never given Superman mistakes, but nothing like to the point where you could like really see where it could eat away at the character. Because again, I don't know. Again, I'm not the biggest one, so I'm sure Scott can reference 500 things in the comics he's read over the past few decades with it. But anyway, I mean, that's where it's at.
Yeah, we have had more than 500 issues of various Superman books. So yes, but you really should see the movie, because almost everything you mentioned happens to him in the film, right down to there is a part where Superman starts bleeding and he's all like, what the, so yeah, but because you're not a huge Superman fan, you can probably wait and watch it when it comes on stream. I mean, I would say go see it on the big screen. But yeah, if you want to wait for HBO, I mean, I still think it's going to be good on the small screen. Nothing in it screams, oh, you won't be able to make this out on the small screen. And for all of you Batman fans, there is a teeny tiny Batman reference in the movie. So just watch out for that Easter egg. Yeah.
Now, I mean, if I was going to go see it, I'd be going to see it for Nathan Fillion. That would be.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and he is excellent.
Yeah, the Guy Gardner Green Lantern is wonderful.
I seen the spoiler where he goes off with some of the army guys or whatever with all the green hands coming up. And some of the music backgrounds they've done with that one. It's pretty funny. So like I said, if I'm going to go see it, I'd be doing that. But like I said, I just honestly, to be fair though, it's a lot going on between all the months and stuff in June with all the birthday parties, obviously. And then I'll be honest, like, I want to go see it, but I haven't been able to do it because Christina's going to be out next weekend. I want to go see Fantastic Four.
I'm about to say your comic book movie slate is pretty busy right now too. So
So you mentioned Batman as your favorite. I know Scott's favorite is Superman.
Favorite from DC.
My favorite is, of course, Mr. Miracle. I thought I had the comic right behind me. I was trying to find it, but apparently I have put it up. But that is coming in the DC universe as well. They're doing an animated Mr. Miracle. I'm incredibly excited. I believe it's going to be based on Tom King's run of Mr. Miracle.
New Gods and such. Yep.
Interesting though. Also not human.
Right. This version, Scott-free anyway, is not human. So yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah. The other two Mr. Miracles are human. But nobody remembers the first one because he only appeared in Mr. Miracle #1 and promptly died. And then not many people remember the third one either. So,
but it keeps coming. So,
and when they bring him back, when they relaunch him almost every time they relaunch Mr. Miracle, it's scot-free. So
right, yeah, almost always. I think there's only really like one Shiloh Norman run.
Yeah.
And zero Thaddeus Brown runs.
That's for the best because, I mean, it's kind of like saying, well, the Blue Beetle used to be Ted Kord. And everybody's like, yes.
Yeah, but he hasn't been Ted Kord for a long time. I love the Ted Kord version of Blue Beetle, and I would love to see him in some time travel shenanigans with Booster Gold at some point in the DCU. But the base Blue Beetle should be Jaime Reyes.
Yeah, and the way anyway, this is not a comic book podcast. Let's talk about some Star Wars. But we did get kind of our own, if you will, Elseworlds kind of thing, even though it's not an alternate reality. It is a definitely off to the side collection of stories for Star Wars Day this year, May the 4th. And that is Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. So it's continuing our animated anthology series that we've been getting for the last few years, that Star Wars Tales of the Blank. So we had Tales of the Jedi, then we had Tales of the Empire, and now we've got Tales of the Underworld. And so since this is an animated Star Wars project, of course, we're going to tackle all of it with our usual 5 questions format, but we're going to do it all 6 episodes at once, primarily because they're shorter than your average Star Wars animated episode by a little bit. And also, it was an anthology series that all 6 episodes dropped on May the 4th. So we didn't have to wait week to week to find out what was going to happen next or see the next episode. Thank goodness. Yes, and Derek and most modern audiences, let's be honest, are much happier with a binge format these days than they are episodic television streaming that makes you wait for an episode.
Well, I won't say that. I'm just saying this format of what they're doing, where each episode is like an episode barely of the length of Bluey, where it's like 8 minutes. So
this could have been 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Now, listen,
and I still would have been okay with that. I still would have been okay with that.
Yeah,
like that's
absolutely.
I'm the oldest guy. I'm the oldest guy in the cockpit for this starship here, and I will say that both of you have often said something along the lines of, could they just give us all these episodes at once? We had that conversation more than once during The Acolyte, for sure. I don't remember, I'm also old.
But Acolyte goes back to where it's like, but it's going back to, it's like a 20-minute episode. That's the problem. Like if you're giving me Andor, like, I'll be honest, like, it was great watching those arcs together. That made sense, right? But season 1, talk about even just single episodes were cliffhangers. Like, I was good with us just talking about each episode because there was just so meat on the bone there to digest and talk about, and the way they left that and the writing and all that stuff. This, like I said, like, what am I going to talk about after the first 8 minutes of the first episode? Like, there's not enough content there. That's to me where I'm saying, where it's like, oh,
and
hey,
I wonder if the propagation of the enormous amount of online pontificating like we do on our show, because there's tons of Star Wars podcasts out there, to say nothing of just guys sitting in the car talking to his phone to give you his reaction.
It's talking to somebody
Yeah. And I wonder if the proliferation, that's the P word I was looking for, the proliferation of all of that stuff has made it to where people want you to drop more of it because they have enough to react to, because that's how they enjoy consuming their Star Wars content nowadays. And I'm okay with that, obviously. We've been doing this since 2019. But, I mean, I think the creators of Star Wars and Marvel, so Disney brass, Lucasfilm brass, Marvel brass, you guys need to think about that as you're doling out content at particular schedules. So yeah, I think maybe Derek is right. It's not so much that you want to binge everything. It's that you just want there to be enough happening in the weekly dose to have something to react to. Because we all have done it at comic book shops for decades, long before there was even the internet as an entity, right? I would go to comic shops, get the new issue of The Death of Superman, and be all like, yeah, guys, I don't know about this Steel character. He seems kind of weird. And me and the other dudes would talk about how, is he an Iron Man ripoff? Is this really a part of the Superman mythos? What's the deal with that? Because see, Seinfeld, it was the 90s. Anyway, and so yeah, I see your point.
I will say, I did buy all 4 of those episodes where they introduced the 4 unique Supermans after the death of Superman. I do have those. So.
Oh, I gave somebody a tactile telekinesis, this is how Superboy works lecture after the new Superman movie, because somebody was like, how does Superman fly in space? There's nothing for him to push off of. And I'm like, oh, my sweet summer child. There's nothing for him to push off of here in Earth's atmosphere either, unless you think he goes like the Flash and he pushes off of oxygen molecules. And they were like, and I was like, here, let me explain to you about tactile telekinesis and how Kryptonian physiology actually means they're all incredibly gifted telepaths and telekinetics. They just don't think about it in that way if they weren't raised on Krypton. And since Krypton is gone, that means that Kara thinks about it this way, but Kal-El does not. Anyway, so speaking of things that get changed over time in the basic mythos, let's talk about Asajj Ventress. Because here in Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, guess who's back? It's Asajj Ventress. Now, we talked about this when it was announced, and we had the trailer, because we had seen the whole guess who's back moment in Star Wars The Bad Batch when Asajj Ventress showed up. But this was sort of going to explain to us how she survived / came back to life after the events of Dark Disciple. Because we had all these tweets from Lucasfilm brass during the time of Star Wars The Bad Batch that said, don't worry, Asajj Ventress appearing in Star Wars The Bad Batch is not going to undo Star Wars Dark Disciple. And I was like, wow, as a writer of novels that involve science fiction, I love that they took a moment to say, we're not canceling this sci-fi novel from this writer from many, many years ago. They could have just been all, hand me the retcon magic wand, Mickey. Oh, okay, here you go. This book doesn't count anymore. Ooh.
Unless if that writer is Chuck Wendig, then Scott's
unless that writer is Chuck Wendig, in which case I would
he
use
didn't
2 magic wands at the same time.
He didn't actually write Star Wars, so
Also, he did not write Dark Disciple, so let's not talk about he who shall not be named. Anyway, so guys, here's my question. With Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, did you get a satisfying enough conclusion of how the heck is Asajj Ventress still alive? And did you feel that they answered that question? Nathan?
well, they did answer that question. The problem that I have is that they didn't raise that question. We know about Dark Disciple because we are big Star Wars fans, and we've been asking ever since she was announced as being in Bad Batch, how in the world could this be possible? Are we going to see her come back in some way? And the answer is yes, we definitely see her, how she came back, but we don't see how she died. And unless you are familiar with Dark Disciple, that section came out of nowhere. So I'm going to go ahead and answer both of our first 2 questions. What did you like most about these episodes, and what did you like least about these episodes, with the same thing? And it is the very first scene where we find out how Asajj Ventress comes back. As someone who knows how she died in Dark Disciple, I absolutely love that. And I thought it was the best moment out of all of this show. But thinking about it in terms of somebody who doesn't know that, a more casual fan who has only watched the movies and the television shows, which, I mean, let's be honest, if you've watched all the television shows, you're hardly a casual fan at that point.
Right.
But you could be a not very casual fan and still not know about Dark Disciple. You would be incredibly lost because you don't know how she died. You don't know that she had a relationship with Quinlan Voss. You don't know any of that. So it all comes right out of the blue. I would have liked it better if we got the exact opposite storyline for Asajj Ventress, and we saw basically here's Dark Disciple in cartoon format and ended with what we began with, and boom, here's how she came back, and here's how she can be there for Bad Batch, and not have the rest of everything else that happened after she came back.
Okay.
Any of the Cad Bane story, because that would have been all the animation time.
I was going to say we would need
45 minutes.
more than this amount of time to do a cartoon version of Dark Disciple.
I'd be okay with that. I would be okay if the whole
thing
thing was
Asajj
Ventress, and then do Cad Bane as a whole separate show.
Could have just had it like one. You could have had it as like a 1 episode, like 5-minute beginning, like intro, like they did back in the day, where they used to show your 5-minute cartoon before the movie.
That's the Cad Bane story. It's the 5-minute, the animated short before the feature film. Yeah,
but they can do it like the Clone Wars, like the newsreel, blah blah blah, and then that would be in between it, right? The infomercials, right?
But there was enough to Cad Bane that they could have done a whole story on him too, and just made this a longer, like a true season of Star Wars.
Derek, you don't have to answer question 1 and 2 at the same time like Nathan just did. This was my appetizer question. Do you think they did enough to talk about Asajj Ventress' return? So, yeah, Derek, what do you think? Or you're like, Nathan's correct. Moving on.
Well, obviously, Dark Disciple is phenomenal, right? And we've all been, clamoring for it anyways. We need more Quinlan Voss. He's one of those interesting characters where it's like, and he, again, kind of fits that narrative where it's like he technically is some of the stuff he's done in his past, and they go through it. Like he's almost kind of an underworld Jedi, right? So it would have. And
they keep dropping hints about him.
We got him in Obi-Wan, all that stuff, right? And obviously we've seen him in Clone Wars, and all that stuff. So I just look at it, it's like it's a missed opportunity because again, what we were talking about at the beginning, which was in regards to it's like almost like, what is the point of making 8-minute episodes? Like, I literally think that Dave Filoni went in. Sorry, Nathan. Went in, got
No,
permission.
you're right on this.
Went in and got permission, but they're like, but you basically have a budget of $2 million. So they gave him $1 million for basically, which would have been one episode. And then he, for whatever reason, the execs think, well, if we just would have dropped one episode or two episodes, people would have been uproaring rare. So we'll drop it and it's 6 episodes, right? Because I feel like if we go back to the Tales of the Jedi, the 2 seasons there, and Tales of the Empire, I don't think they were that short. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think they were like closer, like 15 to 22 minutes a piece. If you go back and watch those, these are like literally like 8 to 10 minutes a piece, where it's like, okay, I mean, granted, yeah, if you actually had to put commercials in on these episodes, then yeah, it would have been technically longer than a 30-minute episode of TV. But it's just like, again, like, why go through all that effort? And I know they just, we talked about, I think it was last year, right? They, after the 10-year celebration of Clone Wars, they closed the whole Philippines division that really did all the animation. So it's obviously more expensive. And it's like, but then, so was that part of it? Because obviously that's when they would have been probably be animating this. So was this like, oh, heck, we were supposed to do this. We promised Dave. We were supposed to do actual 6 legit episodes. Sorry, Dave, we cut your studio. So we'll still give you a couple $1 million to compensate because we wrote it in a contract. So we have to abide by the contract the way Hollywood works. Otherwise, he could have technically sued or something. So it's like, okay, yeah, again, give it. Don't waste my time is all I'm trying to say. Don't waste my time. It's one thing if you're literally going to make a show for kids, like Young Jedi or Star Wars Resistance, right? Like, I'm okay, that may not be the sharpest writing, right? Or what it's geared towards, right? But anything above that, when you're singing young adults, like, or to adults, right? Like we've gotten with a couple of our other things, like, to me, that then give me something, right? Like, don't waste my time. You are literally Disney, studios. Like, you can afford to do this stuff. This, in theory, next to Marvel, are your 2 biggest IPs. They generate the most money. I mean, it's not hard for Disney to literally go out there. I guarantee there's somebody out there that's begging to get used to the intellectual properties. And it's not still like Disney doesn't have to go along the lines of saying, well, we still have to approve everything. It's not like those people, granted, I mean, there's a lot of people that borrow the IP, but what are those people doing in those office jobs? Trust me, they got plenty of time to make approvals for these people. And these people are going to pay you money. So like, okay, sorry, again, invest the time and money and energy, and the returns are going to tenfold. When you do stuff like this, again, I didn't hate it. Like Nathan mentioned it too. Isn't something like he's like, I hated this or anything like that when we first asked him, because he was the only one out of the 3 of us that actually watched it within the first week.
That's true. Because
we also had a bunch of other stuff going on, with everything else, including, during that Star Wars weekend and and then actually, what was out from Marvel? Wasn't that, what came out? Anyways, whatever came out that weekend. So we were busy with stuff. So it's like, okay, but again, like, don't piss off your fan base. Like, and again, don't waste my time. Like that to me, again, I'm not upset, but I'm just like that felt like really flat, because again, they didn't put time and effort. Like, and again, almost the point where it's like, that was like one episode that they actually got animated by the time whatever happened behind the scenes. And then they basically said, well, we can tell a story here. We'll chop it up into 3 episodes. And because we already said it was going to be 6 episodes a while. I don't know. Whatever it felt like, it was just like, okay, Dave, okay, you did what you could do because your hands were tied or whatever. Because I feel like Dave can write more than that for these 2 characters. Otherwise, it's like, why even bother with these characters? Like, I would have been better giving me 6 separate characters at an 8-minute to 10-minute episode where I get like some type of interaction with a character. Don't give me, it's literally the whole story. It's just broken up into 3 small segments. Like, literally the Asajj Ventress story, to Nathan's point, is just chronological, broken up into 3 episodes. Cad Bane, technically there's these gap years, but it's all around the same thing. They never leave the planet, and it's all with the same 10 characters involved to begin with. So like, again, you could have just put insert, title card in 2 seconds in between the 2 episodes, or episode 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, saying, time jump or whatever. And it would have still been just as fine. Okay. 5 years later, 10 years later. Right. Which to be fair, we still don't even know between 2 and 3, like how long was Cad Bane really in jail for? Because at some point he needs to break out. Because then is this like post Empire? Like I believe it was still during the Empire time, or was this post Galactic Republic? And that's how we got out, right? Because the Empire takes over at this point. I don't know. Like I said, there was still like, again, incomplete thoughts. Seems like it was rushed. It was just to get something out. It's like, okay, do a better job editing and formatting it and make it one, polished thing. I like one nice polished turd versus, 6 not polished turds. So
if you're gonna Caddyshack the pool, at least polish it, okay? Anyway, all right. Well, so
but again, I didn't hate it.
Yeah. My quick answer is I thought they did a good job of telling you enough about what's been going on with Asajj Ventress to make you want to go and read Dark Disciple. So I thought this was, ye old lure, and that doesn't always play well when people have no idea what's happening. Sometimes I feel like, especially with Filoni in charge, we take George Lucas's affinity for on media res beginning in the middle of the action, we take it too far, and we have begun to the point where the audience is completely lost. But you can do it right, even in today's world. Which, just side note, I feel the new Superman movie does it correct in today's world. But then again, the new Superman movie has 2 whole hours to get their story told. So way better than, like Derek was just mentioning, way better than these teeny tiny little nuggets of some glimpse of storyline. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the actual 5 questions. Derek and I will tackle 1 and 2 since Nathan already did that. Real quick, my favorite thing, the thing I liked best about these episodes were the Cad Bane episodes. I like Cad Bane as a character, and I liked seeing almost the tragic backstory, but instead of like Boba Fett, where we have a tragic backstory that eventually leads to Daimyo Boba Fett as an old man being more honorable and like almost getting redemption, not quite the same. Cad Bane just doubles down on being a total jerk. You find out that he was a street rat, an urchin, etc., and that he's got the whole kid thing, and his girlfriend, his gangster mall girlfriend died after marrying his best friend, etc. But instead of taking all of this pain and then realizing, hey, I can do better in the galaxy, he takes it all in and is just all like, nope, if I didn't get anything better, nobody else does either. No quarter asked, none given. Right? So there you go. That's my thing I liked the best. The thing I liked the least was we got this whole Cad Bane origin story, and Nathan, maybe you can help me out here. There was no reference as to why he wears the pipes thing, the rebreather thing. Is that just cause? I thought there was going to be some moment where he got shot in the face or whatever, but nothing doing.
My understanding, I'd have to go back and figure out where this was actually established, is that it is a defense against the Jedi, because he knows that they can do the Darth Vader thing where they choke you.
Choke you, okay.
And those actually send air to his lungs, so that even if they try to force choke him, he still breathes through those.
Neat. Well, I wish that they would have taken a moment to talk about that in this Cad Bane origin story. So anyway. All right, so there's my 1 and 2, all around Cad Bane. So you can tell which half of this I enjoyed better. Derek, what's your 1 and 2?
So my 1, going back, obviously was the Asajj Ventress episode. Just because 1, I felt like it was a more complete episode, even though, it was all together. But I did like the point, like, hey, we did kind of fill in, but then to Nathan's point, like, we've read Dark Disciples, so I knew everything, right? So it answered that question, right? So I was like, okay, at least I got something out of this, watching this. But that would pretty much be it. Otherwise, yeah, it was just like I said. That'd probably be my favorite part out of that. So
okay.
My least favorite.
Numero dos,
yeah, my least favorite. A couple of tied things. The first one, kind of going back to the first portion that we just talked about, though, what I liked about the one thing I disliked, though, about that part of the first story with Asajj Ventress was it didn't really explain like what she actually had to give up, though. Like it says, like you have to give up your love.
Mother tells him
it's
all like,
like he goes away, but then is it because he forgets, forgets about you, like that's the thing, or if he sees you, like you die, or like what is
vaguely?
with that?
I got the impression that she came back to life, but it wasn't immediately after Obi-Wan and Quinlan dropped her in the pool. She comes back to life like however many years later, and Quinlan's already gone. Like the Jedi have already fallen and all this stuff, And so like she missed out on the time that she could have been with him, I guess. But that's just me extrapolating, Like they didn't actually explain any of that.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. So to me, it was like, okay, what is that? Because really, if you see that, like she reaches out her hand after she falls down, though, but then you see Quinlan leaving. So to your point, is it like a memory though? Like it would have been made more sense. And again, it's dark, so you can't tell because again, shoddy animation, it's cheap. But he's leaving. Is it then does he fade and disappear like it's a memory, or he just walks out of the tunnel, right? Anyways, it's not clear and all that.
And I thought that they were trying to show us that, Mother Talzin is all, you can stay with us in the spirit world, or you can go back to physical realm. And when Asajj is like, I'm going back to the physical realm, she steps out, she's all kneeling down, she's doing the Terminator thing, like Arnold did when he time travels, and stands up. And like, I thought that it was supposed to show us that an immense amount of time has passed, like maybe even 10 years has gone between the time she got dropped in the goo and the time she walked out of the goo.
Well, it can't be that. It can't be that long though, because she interacts with Omega. That's a child. That's only been a few years after when that would have happened.
But it could go to after the Jedi have fallen.
Yeah, I think it definitely was.
It would have been after that. But I'm just saying, it would have been. It would have been. Yeah, it would have been maybe a couple of years because Dooku literally dies at the beginning of Episode 3.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that would have been at maybe a year before that is when he kills Asajj. At that point, because obviously that's the Clone War era point. So that maybe would have been a year. And then immediately we're jumped into Bad Batch, right? Season 1, as they're trying to exit that. So that would have been within a month or so. And then by the time she came in season 3 was maybe a couple of years after that is what I'm saying. Because Omega was still a kid. She was learning all that stuff. So I'm saying it's like maybe at max 3 years.
Yeah. But she seems to have reestablished herself by that time. So probably not even that full amount of time.
Agreed. Yeah, because that's not even her introducing Omega. That's just, to your point, she's just back on the street, right? So, because we don't really know what happens between that and that. So, and then my other gripe about the second one with Cad Bane, though, and I guess my biggest problem with this one though is that, okay, I get the galaxy's vast and it's very far, very far away. It's in the past and all that stuff. But did they literally have to do like scene for scene for the most part of reenacting Little Italy in New York in the 1940s through 50s? Like literally, I'm like at this point, I would have been better off had they actually given us more of a Cad Bane dealing with like a Godfather situation versus just him being the henchman. And like, I just, again, a missed opportunity, what you guys are saying. Like, I would have loved an episode of how he got to work for Sidious. And maybe he fails a mission and Sidious chokes him out, and then that's why he gets the rebreather, right? Like that would have been like a cool 10 to 15 minute episode that we could have gotten, like how he actually gets introduced to that, right? So again, it was I don't know. Anyways, just missed opportunities, like I said, overall to me. And it just seems like it was something quick put together because they needed something for May the 4th, and it's like don't insult me, don't bother with it if you're not going to at least put an A effort into it at this point. Because let's be honest, they're making billions of dollars off of Star Wars. At least, put some of that money back into it.
Yeah. So I did answer questions 1 and 2, but I do want to throw just kind of one more thing in there. I would say that I felt the Cad Bane episodes were the stronger set of episodes, but the beginning of the Ventress episodes, if you know about Dark Disciple, that one scene is, I think, the best scene out of the 6 episodes. But then the rest of the Ventress episodes, I
mean, it kind of felt like a story we've heard many, many times before of a young kid who was a Jedi Padawan trying to escape the Purge, Yeah. And so
again,
we saw
Palpatine
that
should ask for his refund.
I'm going to be honest. I thought I fell asleep during the Asajj Ventress episodes, and I went back to try to find what I missed and figured out that I had not fallen asleep. It just, at a certain point, feels like it just skips to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt like you know what? I'll do this as part of my question 3. Question 3, what connections did you make to the rest of the Star Wars galaxy? I have 2. One was the scene where Asajj tells Lyko, what's his
That's
name?
fine. Lyco's close enough.
I think
Not Luke, but
It tells the
Right?
kid.
tells the kid, yeah, Lyko, go me. All right. She tells Lyko when they get to the Jedi Path shuttle out in the desert, she's all, I'm not going with you. This is your journey, not mine. Me, 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 me. We get some John Williams music, and I'm all, oh, okay, this is a nice way for it to end. Really solidifies that Ventress has, kind of, at least if not turned fully to the light, she's kind of Ahsoka-esque in her, I'm going to help people instead of hurt people now, and I'll use my abilities, as best I can. Yellow lightsaber, etc., etc. And the kid walks off. She gets on the modified EOP and starts running off into the desert. And I'm like, this was a solid ending. Nope. Kid comes back. Decided I'd rather hang out with you. It's more fun. And then they, ride off into the sunset to do the Force knows what, right? And so I'm just like, well, I had a little heartstring moment there of her saving the kid. Just kidding. She didn't save the kid. Now they're off on adventures. I mean, maybe Asajj Ventress and Lyko comic book or whatever. But like, who knows for sure? And I felt like that was too much of a reminiscent moment. So the connection there being, of course, it felt a lot like in Obi-Wan when he was, helping people find their way to the underground, etc. And we've seen it in several other Star Wars media in other comic books and whatnot with like Caleb Doom and people like him, right? My other connection to the rest of the Star Wars galaxy, though, this one's a little more esoteric and more fun. Highsinger, the droid that hangs out with Ventress's bounty hunter friend, who I loved, by the way. Her name was Latz Razzie. I love that her name was Latz, and she loves to wear sleeveless stuff so you can see her lats. Anyway, so Latz Razzie has a droid that is her friend, whose name is Highsinger, and there's a moment where they're doing the infiltration at the shield generator factory, where they're upgrading all these Star Destroyers, which was a neat thing to see, that they actually have to roll out the giant shield spheres on these very large vehicle, almost space shuttle-esque crawlers that are rolling them down like they would be taking the space shuttle to launch it in Florida back in the day in the 20th century. And there's a moment where Highsinger has to sneak aboard one of the crawlers, and it like inverts itself and does a General Grievous crawl. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. It looks like Grievous when he was on all of his legs down like a panther or whatever, but she's using it as a way to climb and get underneath the thing. And then there's that Imperial supervisor, because isn't there always one hapless Imperial supervisor, doesn't wear his armor out there because I don't have time for that. And he goes to the vet and he sees, hey, there's a droid under blammo, and he's toast, right? Because it shoots him in the face, which is great. So I liked that General Grievous nod to a type of droid. This is a C-21 humanoid droid, so definitely not a cyborg like Grievous, but moving in a Grievous-esque way, crawling across the bottom of the vat. All right, Derek, what do you got for connections to the rest of the galaxy?
I mean, obviously it is Dark Disciple, as we mentioned, right? That's the big one linking to that. As I mentioned, right, you kind of have a little bit in regards to how some of the syndicates and pikes work in the various groups with the Cad Bane story, and what they're doing with trying to do that in the mobs. They didn't do too much though with the various gangs though. But yeah, there's that. And then about the only other thing I could think of, and at least I had it. What was it? I had something. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched it, so I'm trying to remember.
All right, we'll come back. If it comes back to you,
I'm sure Nathan's got 10 things. So
No,
Yeah,
no,
Nathan.
I really don't. In part because with the Cad Bane arc, there's pretty much no connections to the rest of the Star Wars universe other than we see Duros, and Duros are in other Star Wars things. So really all of the connections come from the Asajj Ventress side of things. We've already talked about the Dark Disciple stuff. I'm going to circle back around to Latz Razzie. Latz Razzie was not made for this show. She actually appeared in the Clone Wars in season 4, where she was a bounty hunter
attacking Count
with
Dooku's
Asajj
palace.
Ventress. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is the connection that I have. And then, of course, we have Quinlan Voss and the way that we saw with the Kenobi series, kind of having that with Quinlan Voss. He was hinted at in the Kenobi series as well as being part of the way. Interesting, totally not a connection to Star Wars, but to a real world thing. In church the other week, they talked from the pulpit about how in the early church was not called Christian. They were called followers of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting connection there to early, well, I guess not Christianity, but early real world followers of the way.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's all I got.
All right, we can move on to question number 4. And this episode of the podcast, question number 4, comes from Nathan. So, Nathan, what do you got for question 4?
All right. Well, we've touched on this a little bit already, but I'd like to hear deeper thoughts on it. And my question is, do you feel like we got the full story for Asajj Ventress and or Cad Bane? Or would you like to see more about them? Kind of a sequel to this or some other format, perhaps?
I'll jump in first here. I think we have enough about Cad Bane because not only have we now seen how he came to be, but we know how he meets his end at the hand of Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett. And I actually thought that was a pretty good ending for his character, going down fighting Boba Fett, whom he's had somewhat of a quasi rivalry with for a while. And so I think that's enough about Cad Bane. But knowing how much Dave Filoni likes that character because of his Old West flair, I think we may see Bane again. I actually wouldn't be surprised because modern day New Millennium Star Wars, people come back from the dead quite often. Used to be that never happened in Star Wars. That was more of a Star Trek thing. But apparently this is where we are now in Star Warsdom, and I guess I'm going to make my peace with that. So it wouldn't surprise me if Cad Bane came back again. He might even be a bad guy in The Mandalorian and Grogu, because that would give you a chance to give a nod to Daimyo Boba Fett and get Tim Morrison back on the screen as older Boba Fett. I could be way off on that, but we may see Cad Bane again. But I feel that his story has been told. We almost have as much Cad Bane content as we do Darth Vader, for crying out loud. We've got origin story, bad guy career, and tragic end. What have you. However, with regard to Asajj Ventress, I thought Dark Disciple was the end of her story, and now we've got her back, and we seem to have gone out of our way, production-wise, to leave her story open-ended. So while I don't personally necessarily need more Asajj story, she is a cool character, and I feel that they've got plenty they can tell about her in the Galactic Civil War era. Her time with Lyko, might be just the beginning of her helping other Jedi and Force-sensitive folks. So we'll have to wait and see. Derek, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with you with Cad Bane, right? Like, to me, if they wanted to have him, they can always do, like I said, a series around it where they could have it during the Clone Wars or even something post in between the rise of the Empire through that, right? Before he gets, dies in Cad Bane, you could do a series, right? So he's maybe one of the, again, why wasn't he would have, been at the Empire Strikes Back, right? When Darth Vader called upon him, right? So what kind of things did Sidious or Palp at the time, what was he having him do, right? So you could do that, for side missions, quests, whatever stories if you wanted to. But Asajj, I think there's enough tragic storytelling you could do with the character. Because if you think about it, right, she was thrust upon being bad because that's what the witches were that she was born into, right? She falls in love. She dies for that. She comes back, though. It doesn't seem like, though, she's going back to her evil ways. So, now I would like her to hang out with less kids because we get them with Lyko and we get her with Omega. So less kids and give me more tragic story. But again, I think
those darn kids.
I think you can actually write some actual meat and potato story with her, and you could do some tragic things, right? Like, 'cause she could be, again, somebody who's been down the dark path, committed to it, did some horrible acts, and wants to try to make amends. But she's trying to make amends when her previous boss, well, I guess outside of Dooku, but her previous boss's boss is in charge, and through that era of things, right? So she obviously, just like Ahsoka, she's got to do some things off world. But again, you could have her doing stuff outside the Outer Rim, just like Thrawn did with the Chiss for so long, those types of things. So I think that would be a cooler story, but again, if they just leave it at that, I'm fine. I got enough. Like, just like we've done with Ahsoka, like, she's a great character, but we've got pretty much enough of it, other than what we'll get with Ahsoka season 2 and the tie into the movie to kind of finish off the Thrawn heir to the Empire. But then they could drag it out for 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah. Nathan, did you want to add anything else?
I do. I actually want to see a little bit more from both of these characters, but I don't want to see them be the main character for anything else. For Cad Bane, we have his backstory now. We've seen how he operates during the Clone Wars, and we see how he dies in the New Republic. But we have this massive span of time when the Empire's in charge that we know nothing about what he's doing. And he's, or at least he was, one of the preeminent bounty hunters in the entire galaxy, but he's not on the bridge of the Executor when they send the bounty hunters after the Millennium Falcon. And we don't know why. I would like to see a little bit about what he's doing during that time, and I think we're going to get it because we are getting that Maul series, and that is about him being a criminal mastermind, being the crime lord. And I think that we might see a little bit of Cad Bane operating under Maul. And he doesn't have to be a main character. He doesn't have to be the guy who's even doing stuff. He can be just in the background. And just we know, oh, hey, we who know who Cad Bane is, see that guy in the background there and know Cad Bane's working for Maul. And that's all we need to say, okay, this is where he was during that time. For Asajj, I do think there is more story to be told, but I want to get it from Quinlan Voss's viewpoint. We've had him teased a few times. I think he's got to show up at some point. We've got to get his story of rescuing these Jedi who have escaped the Purge, and perhaps even training them, the Boken Jedi, as they were called in Ahsoka. And if we can see Asajj from his viewpoint, maybe we get the remainder of that story of why can't they be together? Because it could be that he realizes, hey, this lady that I love, who I thought died, is somehow still around. And maybe he pursues her, and somewhere in that, the star-crossed lovers end up taking themselves out, doing a Romeo and Juliet. There's story potential there, but I think it's more on Quinlan Voss's side than Asajj's.
Or it could not. Maybe it's tragic, but for a different way. They go out saving a bunch of Jedi that are fleeing the Purge.
Could be, but that could still explain. Okay, the reason you can't be with him is because when you two get together, that brings the attention of the Inquisitors, and since it brings the attention of the Inquisitors, they take you guys out. Some answer to that question, because Tales of the Underworld didn't answer that question. I have no idea why Asajj couldn't just have been like, oh, hey, look, Quinlan Voss is here. Let's go.
Well, and it very well could be, to your point, though, Nathan, just like Romeo and Juliet, where they can't be together because then if that happens, then Asajj dies, right?
Yeah.
Because then the magic wears off, essentially, right?
Like,
so if that happens, then is it just like Romeo and Juliet, where Quinlan Voss thinks that Asajj has died and she hasn't, so he commits seppuku, and then she wakes up and she's like, "Oh no!" and then and she kills herself afterwards, right?
It's exactly like Romeo and Juliet.
That's it. It's just like Romeo and Juliet. So, and we know Dave Filoni loves to rip off other other people.
Well,
and
Inspired
Star Wars.
homage to Akira Kurosawa,
I
etc.
mean, Ahsoka
For
the
sure.
White. Come on, how more can you go further than that? So
Homage to Mr. Tolkien. Thank you, the professor. Homage.
but
sorry,
yeah,
Nathan.
it could be more of a forced prophecy than an actual, direct, the magic breaks when you meet him. It doesn't have to be that. It can just be like, we've seen the future, and if you try this, it will end badly.
Yeah. All right, Derek, question 5.
All right. So, at this point, we've ripped on enough of the Tales of the Underworld. But again, we didn't hate it. We just think,
Right.
again, it was a missed opportunity, right? So let's say that for whatever reason, Filoni's able or somebody's able to convince Disney executives that, hey, we should do a season 2 of Tales of the Underworld. Because, I mean, you think about it, this is technically the 4th in the series, right? Because we had 2 seasons of Tales of the Jedi, we had Tales of the Empire, and now we have this one, right? So again, if we get season 2, I mean, and to Nathan's point, maybe he gets more side stories of these 2 characters. But let's say that you guys got to come to the plate and Dave Filoni, or, for Nathan's point, he just puts on the hat and he becomes Dave Filoni. What 2 characters would you like to see if they got a season 2 specifically of Tales of the Underworld?
All right, Nathan, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I have an immediate answer for this. And technically it's 3 characters, but 2 of them would be in the same half. And those 2 would be Zuckuss and Forlom. They are bounty hunters who appeared on the Bridge of the Executor. We don't know that much about them. We know that Zuckuss is a Gand Findsman and has some connection to the Force, but not as much to, be an Inquisitor or something like that. But he kind of uses the Force to locate people. And Forlom is his protocol assassin droid. And unlike IG-88 or Boba Fett or even Bosk, we haven't gotten that much about them after them showing up on the Bridge of the Executor. So that would be one side. And the other side would also come from the Bridge of the Executor, Gengar. We know a little bit more about him. He has a history with Han Solo. But let's be honest, what I'm really asking for here is Solo 2.
Yeah.
With Dengar having a run-in with that version of Han Solo and explaining why he's got all the bandages and whatnot.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right. My answer is very similar to Nathan's, including one of the people from the Bridge of the Executor, and that is Bosk. I love the whole Bosk thing. Trandoshans as a race are cool. I love their animosity with Wookiees. So that gives you an immediate tie-in to the rest of the Star Wars galaxy. And honestly, while preparing for tonight's episode of the podcast, I was thinking to myself about how when I was in high school in the 1990s, there were plenty of Dark Horse comic books that brought back all the bounty hunters like Bosk, Dengar, etc. And I thought it was so cool to see those characters that I grew up with as a kid revisited now. And it's like, oh yeah, that's cool how we're getting more of their background, fleshing them out more from these characters from what at that time was now a, more than 10-year-old movie with the case of Empire Strikes Back or even Return of the Jedi. And I thought to myself, I wonder if kids, let's say Star Wars fans Generation 3, because I consider Generation 1 to be, me and my Gen X crew from the original trilogy. Generation 2 is the sequel trilogy. Generation 3, Clone Wars era. And now Generation 4, in my opinion, my own personal rankings of the generations of Star Wars fans, Generation 4 is the sequel trilogy and streaming. I guess you could say Generation 5 is the streaming era, the Disney Plus era, starting in the Mandoverse. But anyway, and I thought to myself, I wonder if those kids are ever going to have that experience of, oh, here's a character from way back in the day when I was young being revisited now that I'm older, because Star Wars media is almost ubiquitous at this point. But then I realized that guys like Quinlan Vos meet that criteria for the Clone Wars crew of fans because they saw Vos in those Clone Wars series and then plenty of ancillary media during that time frame. But now they get to see him revisited with things like Tales of the Underworld. So that made me think about Bosk and how excited I was to see him again when I was in high school. And I'm thinking, yeah, that'd be fun to see him again now. And because he's a creature, you can bring him back very easily from a rights and actor likeness licensing thing. Well, you don't have to worry so much about it because he doesn't have a human face, so he's like Vader or a stormtrooper or various battle droids, where you don't have to pay somebody to make sure that you can redo them like you do with Grand Moff Tarkin. We all know what a can of worms that opened up in Star Wars Rogue One with, virtual Tarkin. Hats off to Steven Stanton for doing a great job as standing in for virtual Tarkin. But if you've ever gone down the rabbit hole on the internet research of how Mr. Cushing's estate reacted to that, and especially one particular friend of his, it's crazy and really complicated. And so Bosk wouldn't open up the corporation to problems like that because he's an alien. And so I'd love to see Bosk. On the other hand, I'd like to see a light side character, if you will. Now, I know you can make the case that perhaps Forlom and Zuckuss aren't exactly 100% dark side, which you can sort of make that case now, especially for Boba Fett. But in this case, with somebody who has always been working on the side of good, so to speak, and that is, I want to see them reintroduce from the Heir to the Empire novel, Talon Card. I'd like to see Talon Card be brought in, and a great way to do it would be to introduce him in Tales of the Underworld if they do a season 2. And so he's Mr. Underworld, information broker par excellence, and really great source of like a light side Jabba the Hutt almost, where he has this whole network that is still trying to do good stuff. Now, a lot of us got that vibe from Luthen Rael in Star Wars Andor, right down to the collecting of art as sort of the mirror of Grand Admiral Thrawn. But Talon Card wasn't as refined as Luthen Rael in most of his portrayals. So I think that'd be fun to see him as more of an edgy underworld connection for the rebellion, because I'd love to see that particular Tales of the Underworld set during the Galactic Civil War. You can even have them mirror each other or connect to each other. 3 episodes worth of Bosk doing Bosk things and, being opposed by Chewbacca and friends, maybe even hunting Chewie. And then 3 episodes of Talon Card, and you do that one second, and you find out how Talon is the one who made it to where Han and Chewie didn't get killed by the Trandoshan bounty hunter, earlier in the anthology, and that's how they survived to go on to Empire Strikes Back or whatever you want to have them doing. So yeah, Talon Card and Bosk. All right, Derek, what do you got?
So obviously Quinlan Voss would be the easy one, right? But you could almost do him in season 3 of Tales of the Jedi, right? Like we should actually be able to get that there. So I'll leave him off that. So I have a couple. Actually, I have 3, but I'm gonna go with the 2. I'll do an honorable mention, which I think would be.
We should have just done the whole episode about this question. It's like because we kind of bagged on the entire Tales of the Underworld.
Like a cool one, actually, I think to actually be and be a good guy. To your point, Scott, would be Wedge Antilles. I think that would be a really good way of how he got to be part of the rebellion, right? Some of his things behind the scenes. But anyways, my 2, which we kind of already preluded that we know how he ends, but we really don't know the beginning and how he got into what he did. And that would be Bib Fortuna. How did he get to work for Jabba the Hutt? Why is he even there? Right. And those types of things. So I think that would be very interesting of a character that is still kind of semi-main, well-known, and that would be very interesting for that. And isn't a typical bounty hunter. And the other one, ironically, from the same series of timeline, not quite Heir to the Empire though, but definitely something that I would say was definitely in the 90s, but from a different unofficial, though Heir to the Empire is, well, technically it's not all official. They just stole the name at this point. But would be from another one called Shadows of the Empire and do Prince Caesar.
Prince Caesar, yeah. Oh man, Caesar in the current millennium, or current century, would be a tough. You'd have to change quite a few things with the whole pheromones and whatnot. But then didn't they kind of already retcon the pheromones thing? Because we've had a
we have had some Faline.
Yeah, thank you. We've had a Faline or 2 in the current.
To be fair though, I think they were both female though, if I recall.
No,
One was a
we've
female?
had male Fallen as well.
Oh, we do? Okay. Because I remember them, they were chasing Princess Leia in the Obi-Wan series. That's when we first saw them in live action, I believe, right?
That live action, yeah, okay. But I was talking about we saw Maul take out some Fallen, and
In
in
the
order to
Syndicate?
take over, in order
Okay.
to solidify the Syndicate, which it's kind of presumed that those are the Black Sun, even though
Yeah.
it's not
Well,
directly stated at that time.
Star Wars Legion and other games. I mean, Disney's has licensed, the Black Sun.
They have, yeah.
Aren't there some Fallen miniatures for Legion? Like
Yeah.
there's
Yes.
a
Yes, they
operative.
are.
Yeah.
Forcers, yeah. So
Yeah.
they're legit. Like the whole entire thing is all Fallen, including a Vigo and all that stuff. So, but yeah, no, like I said, to me, that would be a really cool way to introduce some of these characters, and then you can kind of pick and choose and kind of time their thing. So Talon Card would be great too. Definitely from a light side perspective and Underworld. So, but I'd be fine either way.
I like the Bib Fortuna one because one of the complaints that we had with the Asajj Ventress one in particular is it felt like really one long episode that had these random breaks in it. With Bib Fortuna, you could definitely do okay, here he is before episode 1 and how he becomes Jabba's major domo, because he is in episode 1 as the major domo. Then you could do another one that is sometime during early Empire prior to
Return of the Jedi.
So you can kind of see what he's doing at that time. And then a third episode after Jabba's dead of, okay, well, how does he become the dynamo that Boba Fett takes out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it would get where it's not necessarily a character that's, excuse my language, badass. Like he doesn't have to do a bunch of tricks, right? Like we get that, like we've seen things with Maul and those sides and like the Dryden Voss and all, like they got cool scenes where they can, hold their ground, but you just have them where they have a commanding presence, right? Where they're doing stuff. So like to get that kind of character for Bib Fortuna, was it because Jabba was behind him and it's because he's a Hutt? Or was there something else of a reason why other people did technically respect him and listen to him, right? So, or was he just the weasel the whole time, right?
The weasel.
Yeah. Well, why does Jabba trust him? How is he plotting to kill Jabba? Because everyone in Jabba's palace is plotting to kill Jabba.
Yeah.
And then what does he do in the wake of Jabba's death? Yeah, it writes itself.
Absolutely. Oh, well, if they do any of those things in a Star Wars Tales of the Underworld Season 2, you can be sure we'll be talking about them here on What a Piece of Junk. But we've got a few more things to talk about here in episode 169. So I'm going to gather up some Star Wars news, and we'll be right back. All right. So in Star Wars news this week, unfortunately, we have a sad story from the New York Times. Kenneth Cawley, the actor who played Admiral Piet and then Captain Piet in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, respectively, has passed away at the age of 87. So, he made it pretty far, you guys. The New York Times reported on this happening just this week, I believe, within the last 7 days. I don't know that much about Cawley's career outside of Star Wars, but I do know that Admiral Piet was quite the presence in the original trilogy. He was one of those Imperial officers that gave you kind of just a hint that a few of them had started to realize, are we the baddies? Especially after he had been watching the way Vader treated his contemporaries with killing off Captain Nita and so on and so forth in The Empire Strikes Back, and then his battlefield promotion to Admiral, of course, when Admiral Ozzel got killed by Vader. And so, I've always wondered if the idea that Vader was killing off the best commanders made the Imperial war machine so much weaker. And then sometimes you look at the way that Anakin was a good guy, then a bad guy, and then he got redeemed, and, or at least he tried to get redeemed and became the Force Ghost Anakin. And I'm like, is this a Galen Erso situation where he was secretly killing off all the commanders on purpose to make it where the rebels could win? Yeah, maybe I'm reading too much into it.
It was the long game.
That's right. He's playing the real long game. But no,
years plus.
All respect to Mr. Cully for his excellent career and bringing to life one of the most iconic Star Wars characters ever. And of course, Piet has appeared in many, many, many other Star Wars stories, both in comics, novels, video games, board games, role-playing games, and of course, animated shows and movies. So yes, pour one out for Mr. Coley. And I heard from various people on the internet posting in memorandums talking about how he was always a great presence at Star Wars conventions after the fact as well. And there's plenty of photos out there of him doing signings with fans and for fans and just being an all-around great guy. And one of those really great actors to bring gravitas to what could have been a throwaway role back in the 1980s. You guys got anything you want to add about Coley's passing?
Yeah. So one of the things that always struck me about Piet himself is, we see him in Empire Strikes Back when Vader is killing off admirals left and right. And then we see him again in Return of the Jedi, which means he survived commanding the Executor from Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi. And I realize that from a real world production standpoint, that is simply we decided to bring back the actor. But in an in-universe standpoint, that means that Vader never had a reason to kill him in a few years when he killed like 3 guys back to back to back. He was all about killing people, and then all of a sudden, nope, this guy will do. So I always assumed this has to be one of the most effective and mistake-free admirals ever for the Empire. I did look it up. Kenneth Coley played a few things that I don't recognize. He was, of course, British, so he played in a lot of British stuff that we as Americans probably wouldn't recognize. But one thing that I think both of you will recognize, he had a role in Monty Python's Life of Brian.
No.
He played Jesus. Not Brian, but Jesus.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I don't know that I recognized him as Brian, but yeah, now I see what you mean. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the one who's actually the Messiah that some people follow, but most people are like, wait, no, him over here. This is the Messiah, Brian. He's not the Messiah.
That's great.
He's a very naughty boy.
All right, Derek, do you have anything to add about Admiral Piet? Kenneth Coley?
No, obviously, in some of the Facebook groups, right, you did see that, just to echo what you said, that like apparently he was very, very polite, very, very friendly with fans at the convention scenes and all that stuff, and he had done a lot of them over the years. So, so that's good to at least see that he was able to share that warmth from fans, because to be fair, like again, he was one of the only non-main characters that from an Imperial side that actually made it to 2 movies, and the fact that he obviously commanded the flagship Executor before, as it was going down, and you could say he went down with the ship, right? So so he served his duty. It wasn't like he failed his mission. Just the spinning A-wing as the Green Leader flew into him. So, otherwise, just like I said, it sucks, but at least, like I said, he was, 87. So he definitely lived a full life. Not like some of our unfortunate actors that, and actresses that have parted ways way earlier in their livelihood and careers.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, moving on to a much lighter topic. It's July, so San Diego Comic-Con is right around the corner, and not to be outdone by all the stuff happening at Star Trek World this week, or this year, rather, at San Diego Comic-Con, Star Wars is going to have a pretty big Comic-Con. First of all, as you may have seen, guys, George Lucas is going to be there in person at San Diego Comic-Con for the first time ever. I'm shocked that the maker has not appeared at Comic-Con before this, because, Comic-Con was a big deal last century as well. And certainly it's become even huge every year here in the new millennium so far. And so we got a lot of Star Wars merch that you can get at Comic-Con. So there's a cool article from the mothership, StarWars.com, that y'all can check out this week. So we're going to go over this article that talks about take home these standout Star Wars exclusives from San Diego Comic-Con. Now, none of us are going to San Diego Comic-Con this year. Not that we have ever been, but maybe someday we'll get to go. And if we do, we'll be trying to collect all this cool swag because there's really good stuff that you can get. I do have a few San Diego Comic-Con exclusives in my collection of stuff for Fandom. None of it is Star Wars related. I've got a couple of Star Trek items, including one a special action figure of Khan from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, that was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive in 2007. And it's Khan when he's at the end of the film crawling up onto the console to set off the Genesis device and tells Kirk, "From hell's heart I spit at thee," and his face is all bloody and cut up. So the figure is all like that, which is a pretty cool exclusive figure. But no gruesome, gory figures like that giving away for Star Wars this year. But guys, we can go over these one at a time. The first up is pretty humorous. It is a limited edition Star Wars Darth Vader Tamagotchi Nano by Bandai Namco. If you guys remember Tamagotchis from the 1990s, this is basically the original virtual pets. And this is one of the classic little handheld LCD screen things that has buttons on it for you to push. It's very Star Wars themed. It looks like Vader's meditation chamber from the Executor. And it's got a little LCD Darth Vader. And the description here says, a limited edition exclusive Tamagotchi puts Anakin Skywalker's path in the palm of your hands. Showcasing a shiny metallic shell design, you can take him through lightsaber training, and your interactions will determine what light and dark side characters he meets. This SDCC exclusive also comes with premium black and red box packaging for display. So it's funny that you note you're not keeping Vader alive like you do with a regular Tamagotchi. If you fail to feed it or care for it, it dies. But rather, you're pushing him down either dark side or light side as you make your choices. I think this is pretty cute. Now, there's nothing on this list I can find that talks about prices for these items. So I'm sure that this is going to be...
I'm sure everything's minimum $50 at minimum.
More expensive than your average Tamagotchi, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, guys? Would you be making a beeline for Vader Tamagotchi?
No.
Me either. No,
It's neat, but
actually, the case is cooler than the thing itself. That box,
I agree with that. I'd probably use the case as like a Star Wars CCG deck box, to be honest with you.
If it's even that big, though, I don't even know how big.
Yeah, it's true. It might not hold it.
Yeah, it's probably only like teeny tiny because the Tamagotchis were never. I mean, they were meant to be like keychains.
Yeah, they're keychain fobs. So
yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
I mean, next up we have some action figures from a manufacturer called Beast Kingdom. I'm not familiar with them, but these figures come with display stands and accessories, but they look to be one of Derek's favorite art styles, almost chibi figures, because their heads are way, way bigger than their bodies. It looks like somebody took a Funko Pop, and then like gave them a bit of a steroid boost. Gives them some bigger arms.
Yeah, Funko Pop or a bobblehead, but basically it's customizable in a sense because they got some clippy-on things you can change their different things, but
different hands, different blasters.
If the Clone Trooper has different helmets that you can get either a 501st or specifically the Ahsoka Tano from the 332nd version battalion, that one maybe, but again, it's not anything that I would. If I had it for free, sure, but I'm not going to go out and spend $50+ for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. The price point would need to be lower than what I anticipate it would be.
Yeah, if it was like
in order for me to actually
5, maybe 10, maybe.
Because even though these specific figures are San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, the concept of Stormtrooper, Clone Trooper, and Darth Vader figures is not a Comic-Con exclusive. I can get something that serves the same purpose for cheaper and without having to go to Comic-Con. Not that I don't want to go to Comic-Con, but there's other things I want to do there.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I wouldn't go seek these out because I don't really collect a lot of pops either, and I'm not big into the whole chibi style of art, I like my action figures to be very Kenner-esque from the 20th century, so there you have it. I would accept slightly larger scale, like Black Series figures. So I've got some of those. And of course, I do have Darth Malgus from Star Wars The Old Republic MMO as a Black Series scale figure, and he's great. But so far, none of this is really jumping out at me. Up next, we've got a prop that many collectors already have in their collections, but Perhaps if you're younger, you haven't had a chance to get this. It is a screen-accurate Star Wars Darth Vader premiere helmet by Dino Novo. Darth Vader's iconic helmet has been meticulously recreated using archival helmets and photographs, specifically from The Empire Strikes Back. So this is not the red-lensed Vader from A New Hope, nor is it the more silvery-looking Vader from Return of the Jedi or Rogue One, but it is specifically the Empire Strikes Back version, so the one that he was wearing in the carbon chamber freezing scene and so forth, which is kind of a cool addition. I'm with Derek, though. This has got to cost minimum $50.
Those are 200 plus.
Yeah,
those are 200 at minimum. Those helmets.
Okay.
And that one's probably going to be $400 or $500 because
that's what's going to price me out of it.
Yeah, if it came with a decent enough display stand and I had more space to display it, I would look this up at Comic-Con, but probably not.
If it came with the full cosplay outfit, maybe.
Yeah, but it definitely does not. And I'm not sure this is wearable. I think it's just displayable.
No, it's displayable.
That's even worse. Yeah, I'd rather have one that's wearable, like the ones you can get Action Disney for $200. I think the Vader might be $250 or something like that, but you can get the Boba Fett, you can get the Moff Gideon one, and Mando and the armor and stuff for like $200, $250. So, and those ones you can wear. People with smaller heads can wear them and without glasses, but you know.
Yeah. All right, speaking of Mando, the next item is a Mandalorian and Grogu limited edition metal poster by Displate. This Displate company has been doing licensed metal posters for all kinds of sci-fi and fantasy properties over the last few years. They get great stuff. Now, of course, living in the Dome, I don't really have a lot of wall space upon which I can hang such metal posters, so I don't have any of them. But if I was going to get something at the con, I might get this. It's an awesome drawing of Mando appearing to jump out of the N1 starfighter because it's flying in behind him in a big sunset explosion-y area. And he's got his jetpack on, so he's flying, and his cape is unfurled to his right as he is blasting away with his blaster at some unseen assailant. And hanging on his bandolier in a modified pram is Grogu, who's having the time of his life with his little green hands up going, yay! Because he likes to jump out of the starfighter, apparently.
I'm trying to figure out, is this two suns, or is it one sun and an explosion?
That's a great question.
It's Tatooine.
It is Tatooine.
Yeah,
I think it is supposed to be Tatooine. Yeah.
This is a lot of cloud cover for Tatooine.
Maybe there's an explosion beneath them that's kicked up a bunch of dust.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough to make the assessment, but I feel like when you get up past the atmosphere that they do in that, not that Grogu would really be able to breathe regardless, but he is part Jedi, so you can, Space Wizard physics is out of it, but
Han and Leia walked out into the vacuum of space with nothing but rebreathers on. Space in Star Wars is not the same as
well, technically that was the stomach of a giant slug, though, wasn't it?
But they didn't know that, and they still walked out with nothing but the rebreathers.
Fair enough. They didn't know that.
Yeah, they acted like it was standard operating procedure to just put on the face mask, and be all like, we can go outside.
But anyways, I like the metal posters and stuff, but just this image version of it, I'm not keen on it. Like I'd rather have a version where it's the classic Mando and Grogu like doing the walk from like season 1. That's pretty iconic. The poster there and on shirts,
and
like,
I bet
to me,
you can,
that would be better.
I bet you can get that from Displate, but it wouldn't be a Comic-Con exclusive. Like the thing about this one is you can only get it at Comic-Con.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I'd rather them have made that a Comic-Con exclusive or something off-put than this one. Like to me, it's like, okay, just you're gonna buy it because it's a Comic-Con exclusive. Like I'd rather spend, to Nathan's point, less money, or if I'm gonna still spend the same amount, unless I'm gonna resell it, I'm gonna buy it and then But again, who's gonna want to buy it? Like besides the actual
collectors.
cost. Yeah, well, I get it, right? They're gonna want it, but to me, it's like it's a collector, but it's not even like that great or gorgeous compared to some of their normal ones.
They're in kind of a catch-22 because they don't want. If they have one that's incredible, they want to just be able to sell that. But it also needs to be good enough that people would actually want this one. And I'm not sure that they've quite accomplished that. It's a decent picture, but it's not. It doesn't make me want to go to Comic-Con just to get it.
Yeah, or pay extra money for it.
Or if I'm at Comic-Con, it doesn't make me go, ooh, I need to make sure I get to displate so I can get this. I'll just wait and order some displate stuff when I get home.
Right. All right, moving on to something that in an alternate universe, Nathan and I would be making a beeline for these, but we're not because this is a Star Wars Unlimited TCG 2025 Comic-Con exclusive of particular promo cards for 6 cards that already exist within the Star Wars Unlimited game. But this is kind of a cool item, actually. If I played this game, I'd definitely want to get it.
I'd get it regardless if it was like $20.
Yeah, I'd probably try to go get this regardless, even though we don't play the game, because the cards look really cool.
Yeah, and that case is awesome.
It's 6 cards that are droids units from the Star Wars Unlimited game, but they're done instead of the standard art style where you see the droid in action in like a comic book-esque drawing. It's like a blueprint of the droid. So like you've got BD1, BB-8, R2-D2, C-3PO, Chopper, and a green droid that I don't recognize.
I think that's LEE7.
Yes, that is
okay. All right,
that is L337.
Yeah, so you've got all 6 of those well-known droids, and they're laid out on the card as though you're looking at a blueprint of how to build them. And there's all these little technical schematics and readouts about what does Chopper's left arm do? What does R2-D2 have in his periscope chamber? And so on and so forth. Almost like a cutaways book from like DK, those kinds of things you can get. And then they all have their game text and icons necessary to actively play them in the card game should you desire. And they come in this cool little box that looks like R2-D2 himself. It's all white and blue. It says Star Wars Unlimited 2025. Now I note this says 2025 convention exclusive and has the Fantasy Flight Games logo and the Star Wars logo and all the copyright info. So you could see this overseas at some European or even Asian conventions as well, like Spiel Essen or what have you.
I'm wondering if we'll see it at Gen Con.
That, or was it even at Star Wars Celebration this year?
It may have been.
That's what I'm Googling right now.
Yeah. So anyway, the description says, take home 6 variant cards in a blueprint-style design lovingly inspired by some of the best droids to be found across the galaxy, including R2-D2 and BD-1. Then get ready to power up your Star Wars Unlimited game with this San Diego Comic-Con exclusive set. Now, the text seems to imply that it's got to be San Diego Comic-Con, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that either, because Fantasy Flight Games is a gaming company first.
Somebody's already got it since May 30th. Somebody has it in their hands.
All right, so maybe we had it at some other convention. Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, still a cool idea.
To me, this is a good way to do a convention exclusive. These are cards that you can get in the regular set, so they're not like you must go to these conventions in order to compete. I hate it when game companies do you can only get this card at a convention, and it's also super powerful. So you're basically
Fantasy Flight
paying to win.
Fantasy Flight was good about that with the exclusive convention Star Wars Celebration Darth Vader figurine many years ago back in 2019 when we went to Star Wars Celebration Chicago. Although I still had to jump through some hoops and impersonate some people to get the Vader figure.
Details.
This thing was 100 pounds.
This was 100 pounds?
Gosh.
That's 100
lot in dollars.
I take it back. I take it back. I'm not going directly for this. They look cool. They don't look $100 cool. And if they're 100 pounds, they're going to be
more than
at least
well, they're
$100.
going to at least be $100. Yeah, at least $100, if not 125 to 150.
But I will say, to FFG's credit, they look distinct enough that you know that these are convention exclusive. Mm-hmm. That's something that I've run into in the past with various collectible card games where, yes, this is a convention exclusive, but all that's different is the image is different. It's like, well, how do I know it's a convention exclusive? Well, there's a little bit of text at the bottom that tells you.
There's a stamp.
Like, okay. Right. It's kind of cool, but like they could have just done this picture on the regular card and swapped them. These images, the blueprint images, are a completely different template than the regular cards. And that makes it to where these are specifically the convention cards. And you can tell from across the game store, hey, that guy's got the convention exclusive version of this card because the whole card is different.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We also have some enamel pins and mystery box pins from Figpin, a Star Wars pin vendor. As you guys know, probably over the past 12 to 15 years, pin collecting has become quite a thing, especially amongst Star Wars fans and Disney fans. So we have that here with Figpin. Pick up limited edition pins for characters like Force Ghost, Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Knight Revan, and K2SO, plus an extra large Rancor. And if you're in the mood for a surprise, check out 2 all-new mystery box series that feature character pins related to Han Solo and the Sith. Are you guys pin collectors? I'm not really a pin collector.
I have not been a pin collector.
Nor shall I ever be a pin collector.
I'm not going to say
It's
that
an
I'll never
entirely
be.
different kind of pin. The writing pins I actually like. So
The thing, from what I can tell about the pin collecting community, it's people who often go to Disney or Galaxy's Edge or what have you, and there are people that this is what they do when they're there. Like they'll be there with boards of pins to trade with people. They're like, "Here's what I've got. What can I trade you?" And some of them are very nice people who will say, "I've got extras of this," and they'll make trades that are in your favor if you're a new pin collector to kind of get you into it. And it seems like a cool culture. I like collecting things, but I don't go to those places enough. I don't take enough of those vacations to really do the pin collecting thing. All I'd really be able to do is order some pins and then pretend like I'd ever trade them.
Right.
Yeah, it's no different than us doing any other art collecting hobbies, to your point, Nathan. The one cool thing about it, though, is that, some people probably keep them still in their packaging, but a lot of people can just put them on backpacks. You can put them on your lanyard, right? You can alternate them a little bit easier, right? And still have them visible for show. So it is a cool accessory that is available, right? To your point, yeah, I've gotten some for Sophia on my last Disney trip for work when I went back in January to get her a few to see if she was interested. She's like, "Hey, these are cool," but then she hasn't. I mean, again, she's was 5 going on. She's now 6, so she's still a little bit different. But I have a friend that we're going with this time, and he's all about it with his little kids. They like to do that, right? Like to your point, they'll go. They actually go to the outlet mall that Disney has in near Dollywood. They'll pick up like a bunch of pins that are like 10 for like $50 or like $5 a piece, and then they take those and then they go to Disney World, and there's like 5 or 6 stops at each park that have dedicated these trade boards,
the pin trading boards.
Yeah, and then they'll go and try to find con exclusive ones or something like that, or whatever they can find Disney park exclusive ones, and trade a generic $5 pin for that $25-$30 pin. You know what I'm saying? So it's a cool way of doing it, but again, what do you get? Like, it's not like I see their kids like run around with stuff. It's no different than us collecting stuff. It's a fad and whatever. But I mean, I will say that the Jedi Knight Revan one is pretty cool. I would probably get that, and I would probably throw it on my Boba Fett one, my backpack, like put it on that. That'd be pretty cool to add to it. But again, am I going to spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars to go to Comic-Con exclusive to get it? No. Would I pay $15 for it offline for someone to pick it up? Yeah, I could pay $15 for it and not think twice. Anything above that,
I like the Rancor one. That's my favorite out of these 4. Yeah, there's some content creators that I follow who do the pin trading thing, and one of them, he collects the Pluto pins for Disney, and he made a board, a pin board that he has displayed at his house. That's just filled with all these different Pluto pins. Of course, they go to Disney like every year, and recently went on a Disney cruise, and like that was one of their big things was how many Pluto pins can I get? And they went to one of those pin stores in Florida where you can buy bulk. You get just a ton of pins, and then try to trade those. And since they're looking for Pluto pins and not necessarily the rare ones, sometimes they can get, this is a Pluto pin I don't have, even though it's a fairly common one. I just don't know how much of that there is for Star Wars, where you could be like, I'm going to collect all the Chewbacca pins.
There's
I
some
mean, I
out
bet
there
there's probably a bunch, honestly. Because, I mean, I think Disney incorporated Marvel into their Fandom as well. So,
Yeah.
Well, and how many are unofficial too, as well,
Well,
right?
a lot of them. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
All right, anyway, speaking of pins, we got a few more pins to talk about. Well, one more pin to talk about at the next booth, Ornaments and Enamel Pin by Hallmark. So there are 3 Hallmark ornament related things for this year at San Diego Comic-Con, because Christmas is merely 4 months away, or 5 months, or whatever it is. And so
5 months
get started.
and 5 days.
There you go. Get started on your galactic holiday decorating early with a Darth Nihilus pin ornament, from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Because when I think Christmas, I think Sith monstrosity who consumes souls. Anyway,
absolutely.
And a commemorative vintage-inspired Jawa ornament.
Darth Nihilus. That's the comic we need.
That's right. I could go for this Jawa figure, actually, because our ornament, rather. The ornament is not just a Jawa figure, because we've had that ornament for decades. It's a Kinner-esque package of Jawa carded figure from the original. Yeah, depending on how big it is. Now, if I'm looking at the thing, the picture here makes it seem as though it's about the size of one of those Christmas ball ornaments that you see on trees, because it's hanging on a ribbon that would be similar to one of those. So it's going to be kind of tiny as far as reading the words on the card. And I'd love to see if the back of the card
6x3 or 6x4
is the same as the original back of the card. That would be awesome. But anyway, it's enough to make you look at your tree and go, "Oh, teeny!" So There you go. And then finally, if you don't want Darth Nihilus ornament or Jawa carded Kinner figure ornament, you could get a early gift with an event exclusive 8-bit Darth Vader enamel pin. So this is another pin for you Star Wars fans. But the cool thing about this Vader pin, 2 cool things actually. He's 8-bit, so he's like little low-res 2D Vader, and he has a hinge at the top of the pin to where you can lift up his face mask and see the horribly disfigured Anakin Skywalker. Because nothing says cute little pin like facial scars.
And Merry Christmas.
Yes. And Merry Christmas, yes. All right, anyway. Next
it's cool
up,
you can remove his head, though. It's cool.
It is cool. You can take off his helmet, yeah. So next up, this is something I would be going to go get, because I did a very similar quest to get a figure like this at Star Wars Celebration Chicago, which was the exclusive Phantom Menace anniversary version of Padawan, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. But these are Black Series figures that you can get and connect together of Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker from their duel on Mustafar. And guys, the stand is epic. So they're Black Series scale figures. And it's from Hasbro. Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi from Revenge of the Sith are available in a new Mustafar Duel 2-pack exclusively at the Hasbro booth. They're standing on one of the little floaty platform things that they fought on in the lava field with a bunch of lava underneath them, plastic sculpted lava, holding them up. And there's a little mining droid that's kind of like hovering off beside them as their lightsabers clash. This is epic. I'm sure it's probably like $350 for the set, but I would be in line. Or I would do the thing if San Diego Comic-Con does this, like they did at Celebration Chicago. I pre-bought and just went over to the booth, showed them my badge, they scanned it, and they gave me my package. Much better than having to get in line, get a ticket, blah-de-blah, just to get the figures. I pulled it off, no problem, and I would pre-buy this, absolutely, and find a place to display it here at the domicile.
I will tell you that middle picture looks like it's an episode from Robot Chicken.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. I would keep them in the pose that's on the far right, where they're standing facing each other,
Flashing
and they've got
sabers.
Their sabers are clashing, and I think it even comes with that little white starburst thing you can clip onto them.
I don't know how you're going to get the droid to float, though.
I know
probably
the fine print. The fine print says figure does not fly. So I'd have to find some way to get the droid to hang around near them.
Get some fish wire.
Now, just knowing me, I'd 3D print some more lava and have him perched on top of a burst of flame.
Or put
Or give him the blue energy fieldy thing from the 3D printer and stick him on top of the
yeah.
flames.
Or you could have like one of them. Wasn't Obi-Wan on top of that, or was that Anakin that was on top of the one?
Oh yeah, one of them does stand on him. That'd be
So,
cool.
You
Yeah.
could have that scene where he's like,
Yeah. So this is the first item on this list that's made me be all like, yep, that's the one. I'm going to sell some crypto so I have enough American money to go buy this. All right. Next up, we have Darth Vader Minico by Iron Studios. Darth Vader joins the Minico figure lineup in a small-scale form and comes with a proper Sith-inspired base. From helmet to cape and tiny holograms, every detail of the Sith Lord is sculpted in a fun, stylized way. Chibi is the way to go, apparently, these guys, because we have Vader here also somewhat Chibi-esque. His head is bigger than the rest of his body. I do like that he has all the holograms. He's got Vader's custom tie, a tie Advanced X1. He's got a hologram of an AT-AT walker, and he's got a hologram of Death Star 2 under construction that he's holding in his hand. Alongside, in his other hand, he's got his lightsaber, and it's ignited. It looks cool. The base is great. I'm just not into the chibi style. I don't like giant.
Yeah.
that's not Darth Vader. That's Dark Helmet.
That's Dark
Yeah,
Helmet.
that's the problem. Is he looks more like Dark Helmet.
So, anyways, let's skip
All
forward.
right, next up we have live Arabesh engraving by Rock Love at booth 2913, the Galactic Forge. Commemorate SDCC with a one-of-a-kind exclusive, a blank necklace or bracelet engraved with your name translated into Arabesh, part of Rock Love's new Galactic Forge collection. So this is a cool little chain, keepsake chain or bracelet that has your name written in Arabesh. I wonder if they'd let you do something other than your name. Perhaps not, because they have limited time and or space. Because clearly you could get other things commemoratively engraved by Rock Love. It's named Rock Love. Surely there's some kind of a thing where you can get like you and your significant other's names put on the same jewelry to wear. This is
all
cool,
I want to know is why Disney hasn't like done this at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like I can do this other places, but I guess not.
Yeah, that's the weird part, honestly.
But anyways, yeah, it's
I'd
okay.
probably
But
get this.
if it was like $25-$50, maybe, to your point, Scott, right?
Yeah.
If you're with your significant other and they really like Star Wars, then
Nathan could haul Andrea over there and then have her stand in line for us while we go to play Star Wars Unlimited cards, and then she can pick up all of our engraved stuff. And you're thinking I'm joking, but she did that for us at Dragon Con because she's the greatest girlfriend ever.
She is.
And yeah.
That said, this is San Diego Comic-Con. We wouldn't be playing card games there. We'd be going to see
wouldn't.
Tom King and Mitch Gerard and other comics people.
Yeah, we would.
But
we might play some minis though. I might bring some Warhammer. I could see me doing that.
I could see me bringing some Marvel Crisis Protocol because comics. But at any rate, this one here says Rock Love on it, so I'm pretty sure you can do things other than your name as long as you don't go crazy with it.
no cussing.
Right, yeah. No, please keep it PG-13. Thank you. All right. Last one, guys. The Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Vehicle Multi-Pack by Jazzwares. Recreate key Imperial dogfighting moments with this exclusive 3-vehicle set that features Darth Vader's TIE Advanced chip, 2 TIE fighters, and more. The more being Vader as a minifig that I think fits into his craft, and then 2 minifig TIE fighter pilots. I'm getting major micro machines, flashbacks from Star Wars action squadrons or what have you from back in the 1990s. So I might actually seek this out too, depending on the actual scale.
I do have a problem on this one. Yeah,
They're
the
like
scale.
big.
Okay.
And
That's
the,
bigger
little
than I was
figure-
expecting.
The little figures are like maybe an inch to an inch and a half, and then the ships fit them in it. So
My question is, I'm hoping that this is just an issue with the image. The TIE LNs are considerably bigger than the TIE Advanced in this image. Like,
I think the
way out of
Advanced
scale.
is like back in the background. I hope you're right, because otherwise, yes,
No,
it makes Vader's tie look like a shuttle.
I've seen it before. It's pretty big. It's pretty thick. So it's obviously not as big, because you would think that they would just take the wing and fold it into 3s, but it's still not that big. It's a little bit more narrow, but it's a lot bigger than what that picture is showing.
Okay, good, because that would turn me off from getting it if if Vader's custom tie is the one that, oops, we accidentally
tiny.
made this super tiny.
Oops, all ties.
Yeah.
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 Cool. All right.
It
Well,
shouldn't be that much.
enough about merchandise from Star Wars San Diego Comic-Con. Let's do Derek's favorite part of the show before we wrap up this episode, and that is, of course, what Star Wars t-shirt are we wearing this week, or what Star Wars merch? And I'll go first because I've been waiting a little while to show this off again. I finally got my own What a Piece of Junk exclusively on the Fandom Podcast Network t-shirt from our excellent T Public store. So it is red, so I can wear it for some Star Trek jokes about being a red shirt, but otherwise I love it and have gotten some good compliments on it, in which case I finally get to say to someone about one of my Geeks t-shirts, well, actually, this is my show, and you can check it out on the Fandom Podcast Network. I don't know if any of them actually have checked it out, but they can, and that's the important part. Nathan, what do you got?
I am wearing my helmets shirt with
Yes.
with the 9 different helmets. So lots of fun there, lots of different helmets. We've gone over them before, so I won't get too much into that. Derek, what you got?
Actually, today I don't have a whole lot. I actually played Star Wars Legion yesterday with the bud. We're trying to get like once a month. We're trying to meet up at least and play some. So, and I pulled it off. I got the victory, so that was nice.
Nice.
job,
What
good
faction
job.
did you play as, Derek?
Well, we've played kind of getting back into the game since the rules changed and just trying to get back into things. We've been playing Recon, which is like their old skirmish, just at 600 points versus 500 because they moved the full game from 800 to 1,000. So I've been playing Galactic Republic, and he's been playing Empire. And so, you know, I had Anakin, I had Ahsoka, and then I had 2 ARC Trooper sets, an infantry set, and a commando set. And then he played Director Krennic and Callus with a couple of Death Troopers, a Stormtrooper, a Snow Trooper, and then he did play 2 sets of the new Riot Guards because they're the ones that have the big shields from, you know, and the K2 SO or K2 series X, whatever you want to call them. So he played 2 of those. So, but I was able to pull off the victory. He almost wiped out my entire squad, but I won off victory points, and that's all that matters in a game of scoring points. So
yes,
we
as
won.
I often reminded my boys when I was teaching them how to play Legion, this is not a game about killing everybody. It's about scoring points.
Yes,
because that's the only way the rebellion ever had a chance back in the day.
Oh yeah.
ABS, always be scoring. That's the motto. So, but yeah, so I was able to pull off a nice victory. We actually came to my house this time where I got to start using my new board and all my new models, which I've been painting, and I guess that's really been where most of my time's consuming. So I will just pull out the old trusty mug of also coming around what Scott said about what a piece of junk. You can get all cool merchandise and all that swag. So, anyways, there you go. I'll have something for next time.
Yeah, no problem. I like the mug. I think the mug is great. And we hope that you guys think the rest of this show is great. You can find us out there on the interwebs, all the places where you catch pods. And of course, we are on various social medias. Just look for us at the links down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to it in your car, aren't you quaint for doing podcasts in an audio format? We appreciate you no matter how you're listening to us. Please hit us up between shows if you'd like to give us some advice on how to make the show any better for you. But until next time, please always remember to respect each other and always respect each other's fandom. All right, Nathan, punch it.